Hello, hello. My name's Jenny Luscombe, and this is my friend Tim York.
Hello.
And we are the Feel Tank. And today we're talking about castration. So we're talking about emotional castration. So this comes from emotional abuse, but often in men, it manifests like very physical trauma in the body type symptoms. So we both have quite a lot of experience in our life of emotional abuse and how that has disempowered us profoundly. And I deal with a lot of men through my work. I do trauma work with a lot of veterans who are mainly men, and I attract a lot of clients that are men. And this is a huge topic. And in my humble opinion, the masculine and the feminine need to rise together, and we need to do everything we can to support each other to achieve us all rising together. Um, if you look at the world, that's not happening. There's a lot of gender wars. Women are believing and feeling that men are pointless, and men are very confused about women, and they're confused. They've had their heads twisted a bit by feminism, which is an agenda, which most people don't realize. Um, there's a lot going on. And I've seen, especially over the last couple of years, a lot of men who have prostate cancer, they have physical things going on with their body, their reproductive system. And the emotional root of that, because I traced the emotional root of things back through the body, and then the body is the archive, so the body gives us the memory. These kind of conditions always show a disempowerment, mainly by the feminine for men. So this is a really interesting topic. You're breaking up a bit there, Tim, so I don't know whether, did you hear all of that?
Okay. Yeah, I did. Yeah, keep going.
Well, do you want to talk about your side of things?
Yeah, yeah. So I would say as well that it this the physical symptoms, the physical issues in the body can appear just as much for women as for men. In the corresponding parts of the body. So the ovaries and in particular, so where our creative energy is most associated. So things like ovary syndromes and stuff like that. Um, I would I you know I well, I've seen it. I think it appears just as much in women. Um, but yeah, this is. I think we both agreed, didn't we, with the word castration is like one of the most powerful for describing what is going on in the world. You know, uh, the the feminine, almost anti-nurture, and or fake nurture. Um, it's in a disguise where it's actually narcissism and like self-loathing and hatred, and that all gets turned inward and then expressed outward, and then as children we're exposed to that, and so that's where this castration begins. And it began for me before I was even born. It began in the room, and you know, and then I had the first physical castration attempt. I was only 7 years old, and then there've been various others that have come along over, the course of my life. Some of them have been more energetic, but there have been, I won't go into the fine detail, but there have been attempts to, um, just completely shut down and destroy that part of me. So it's a recurring theme in my life, and it's the same energy that comes again and again. And it's because obviously I have this weak spot, but I see it happen in other people as well, not just men. I've seen it down the family line, down one side of my family in particular, repeated problems in a similar part of the body, something unresolved passed down the bloodline. you know, and yet here we are trying to heal the bloodline. You know, and it's like, how do we, you know, identify what the root cause is, recognizing that it isn't really ours, if it's something that's been passed down. You know, how do we identify that or heal it? And how do we then embody, you know, that creative energy, that creative spark, and then that nurture, which is exactly what we need. Excuse the background noise. And you know, that's like a very really tall order when you're suffering every day. But yeah, you know, we have to find our way back, don't we? Like, we have to go into the pit of hell, of like that which is most painful and uncomfortable. And we can only really, I think you talk about this all the time, you know, we can only really graduate out of that cycle, that loop, by really going into this stuff and feeling it and addressing it every day, as loathsome to all of us as that might sound. Yeah.
Yeah, I like what you said. I mean, like, the only way that we can heal from this is for us to see what happened to us. So, from my perspective, from my own personal experience, and from looking at the lives of my clients, many of us, and this is very taboo, many of us were parented reluctantly. So, because so much has been done to humanity, and we're just only on the tipping point of finding out what's been done to us, the majority of humanity don't know how to have relationships. We don't know how to have relationships. We don't know how to get our own needs met. We don't know how to exist fully as ourselves around other people. We don't know how to allow other people to exist fully as themselves. Now, I know that my own mum was a reluctant parent because she never said that, but like, it's obvious. So she was incredibly traumatized, never dealt with that because she didn't know how. And then she's ended up stuck in a life that she doesn't want. And so all her kids have ended up feeling unwanted and unloved. And you know, you can't help being born into a specific family. Like, you never go looking for that kind of thing, and it takes the rest of your life to heal from feeling unwanted and unloved. And often these kind of parents are quite narcissistic, so they only see their kids as an extension of them, and there's no space for anyone else to exist apart from them. So we're kind of stuck, often meeting the needs of our parents instead of the other way around. And you don't fully become aware of it until later in life, until you're in your like 30s, 40s, 50s, and you're wondering what on earth happened. But like, many of us are on the healing path. Like, we've started to heal the difficult things that happened to us, the intense, difficult things that happened. But what I'm proposing is that what we all need to do is we need to look at what didn't happen. What didn't happen? What did we not receive that traumatized us because we didn't receive it? So I'm talking about things like love, encouragement, nurture, intimacy, connection. Like, if you're in a life with a parent who is so hung up on their own business and what's gone on for them that they can't provide you with what you need, your only choice is to start to heal the physical symptoms that you now have as a result of that, and the emotional and mental symptoms that you now have as a result of that. So the word that we're using here, castration, we're using that because it is a word that means disempowerment, but we're also using that because energetically in the body, the reproductive system is all about our self-expression and our creativity. We cannot express ourselves if we were not nurtured, because we don't know who we are. So castration is the right word. We're learning how to exist in the world as us. And we can only exist in the world as us if we start to make choices in relationships. So when we're in a relationship where we cannot express ourselves, we can't get our needs met, we need to go elsewhere. We need to start firming up what it is that we need to survive and to thrive, and then find people who can do that for us, that we can help do for them what they need in an interdependent style. Over to you, Tim. Have you got anything else to say about that?
Yeah, I agree that is the solution. I mean, I've been trying to do that for probably a decade with different, you know, going through life and meeting different people, living in different places, and you know, I've still not got it right. And yeah, I'm just looking at myself and my life, and I'm like, well, you know, what becomes necessary for it to actually really work, rather than, you know, trying and making a little bit of progress, but then just, you know, having very similar lessons come back again and again, and the recovery time from those lessons sometimes is just ridiculous. And you know, whether that's emotional or physical or both. And I think it shows the scale of the work that is necessary, that you have to commit to on a daily basis. And if you do that work, it's probably going to be a bit of an easier external life situation for you. But if you don't do that work, I would say it's going to be harder.
Yeah. I mean, from my perspective, I mean, I had years ago, about 12 years ago, I had chronic pain in my body that I thought at the time was connected with lifting up my little girl when she was small. I thought it was like repetitive strain injury from that. But actually it wasn't. And it wasn't until I got into healing work that I started to understand that the physical symptoms in the body are always a reflection of emotional and mental beliefs and negative emotion and stuff that is trapped, that hasn't been processed. So what you're experiencing and what many people experience is any pain or physical symptoms are the body trying to have a conversation with you. And we often get to the exasperation point. We're so sick of the symptoms. We're so sick of the state of us and our lives and like what's gone on for us. We just want it to be over so we can go against our body. Totally understandable. And it is like part of the process. But our body is basically on a time lag, and our body needs to be acknowledged and it needs to be heard and felt and sensed. So when you've got symptoms that are not shifting, it's probably because you've got resistance to those symptoms, and that's okay. So what your first step is to be with the resistance. So the resistance probably sounds something like, I deserve better. You know, when is this going to be over? Like, why do I have to help myself? Why is no one here for me? Why am I on my own facing this? You know, so that's all valid stuff that needs to be sat with. But in order to heal our bodies, we have to start to make friends with them, and we have to start to move towards our body because we want to and because we care. Because that's what didn't happen for us. We were not wanted and we were not cared for. So we have to reverse what was done to us. We have to care enough about ourselves and our body to be there and to make it a priority. And it's not what anyone wants to hear. No one. Like, I've been trying to convince people of this for 12 years. And yes, I run a business on the basis of it, but planet Earth, humanity, like everybody out there needs to do this. Everyone. And the people who say that they don't are the ones who need it the most because they're in denial. And I did heal my own chronic pain by accident because I needed to be one of the people that teaches people to do this. Like, I was dealing with my own trauma because I had a nervous breakdown on my hands, and I was a mum, and I needed to get through the nervous breakdown. So in dealing with the emotion and the mental stuff, my pain went. And that's how it is that I learned that I acknowledged the pain that my body was trying to show me by accident. And so my symptoms leaving showed me that the back pain was my body's conversation that it was trying to have with me over and over again. And I wasn't listening and I wasn't listening. And I'd take the painkillers. And the doctor told me I would have it forever because doctors don't see pain as emotion. Some of them might, but most of them, they just see that people, you know, if you tell them that they're going to have something forever, most people just go and curl up and die, or they just take the pharmaceutical drugs forever. That's not what I did, and that's not what a lot of people are doing. A lot of people are healing themselves, and they're realizing that they have to reverse what was done to them. And it's the last place that most people look, themselves. And that's where the answer is.
Yeah.
But
The reversing,
when you've
the reversing is
when you've suffered from something for years, you don't want to hear that it's down to you and that it's you that has to do that thing. No one does. No one does. And that's what you're
especially when it's every day. Like when someone says it's every day, you know, it's not just a thing you might do once in a while. It's like, no, you got to do this shit every day, and you're not going to like it, you know, and you're going to get frustrated and bored and aggravated with it, and you still got to do it every day.
Yeah. And really what you're doing is hearing what your body has to say. Your body is full of all of these laments, you know, kind of like no one loves me, and you know, I don't matter, and I'm insignificant, and it doesn't matter what I want. I don't get what I want. I don't get what I need. You know, there's all these stories that just keep ping-ponging around in our energy system and in our body because we don't want them to be there. Like, who does? But the problem is with energy is once that starts pinging around, like it has to be acknowledged. It's like completing a circuit. It's like electricity. You have to meet it and you have to honor it because you matter and it matters. So your body is a part of you. It's actually your subconscious mind. You can't ignore your body. Your body is yours forever. So your body is putting you in a situation where you have to do daily work now to get through it. You have to. So when people manifest disease and they manifest kind of like, you know, sometimes things that the doctor will tell you is life-threatening, you have to focus on it then. That's your body's intention. It's like waving a flag at you. When's he going to hear us? Like, just go directly there. It's not easy. It is not easy. And I'm glad you said that it happens in the feminine as well. And anything in the reproductive system, anything, male or female, is a castration. It's a disempowerment from your childhood that you haven't fully acknowledged and you haven't moved through the emotion of that. Yeah. Have you got anything to add, Tim?
No, I don't think so. I've already talked about my journey through it. I think it's just a really important area that needs more attention so that people can become aware. You know, I think particularly as well for women because you know, I think men probably understand a bit better the disempowerment that they go through. You know, in terms of having their masculinity, you know, inverted or chopped away. But for women, you know, I mean, you look at what you would class as the modern woman now, you know, is a woman that's so in her masculine and usually so disconnected from her feminine. Maybe that's a good sign. Maybe there is a kid that's embracing their feminine and hasn't had any of that chopped away. But yeah, you know, the way the modern woman is just like hyper masculine and disconnected, just so disconnected from a true self, and you know, therefore, just a yeah, just blazing a trail of waste through life.
Yeah, I mean,
You know, I've seen a lot of that, and like, you know, I think women need to hear this message just as much as men. It's like, you know, we've talked about this on other videos, like, you know, what it means for um a man or a woman to be in there, to have the correct polarity, you know, so that they're in the right roles, so that life works well. You know, all of that has been so skewed, and I just feel sorry for people that, you know, going through life like just you know, just constantly tripping over everything, and having so much difficulty because we've been so taken away from ourselves. And there's so many different reasons for that, but you know, I think what we're trying to get at here is there is a way back, but like we have to take such a level of responsibility,
yeah,
and not many people are willing to do it.
no, and like what you've said there about women that are like hyper masculine, what man wants a woman like that?
Mm.
None, none.
Not for the long term, anyway.
And like
They'll take
even,
them for the very short term, but
you know,
that's it.
and I mean, you know that I've tried out chronic independence. I've tried to like be the man, the woman, the everything, and it isn't possible. So all you women out there who are single mums, like, it's impossible what you're doing. You need to land in the impossibility of what you're trying to do. It isn't possible to parent children effectively when there's one of you and there isn't anyone else around you. And like women are trying to pull off the impossible because we've been brainwashed into thinking that we have to do it all. And then you've got men who don't want hypermasculine women. Men need to feel useful, they need to have a role, and there's nothing wrong with that. Men are so confused by women, and women are pushing men away when they need men. We need men, we need them. And all of this has been twisted by feminism. And, you know, I'm not for the patriarchy. Like, none of it makes sense. I'm not interested in men not in their power, or women not in their power. I'm interested in all of us being in our power. And the only way that we can help each other to rise is by processing what has been done to us. And like, obviously, feminism was created so that women would pay tax instead of just the men, and a million and one other reasons. And until people start to see that this has been done to us and come out of denial and then actually see what has happened to them and how badly it's affected their lives, we're all going to be stuck in disease. We're going to be stuck, and we need to unstick ourselves. Like, we are the ones that we're looking for, and no one's coming. And
Yeah.
it's as amazing a journey as it is depressing. It's like you have to look at it not either or, but it's like, and do you know what I mean? It's like how depressing and how messed up we all are because of the agendas and everything that's happened to us, and what we've become is so depressing. And what we have to do to like just get ourselves into a situation where we can live a normal life. But we thought we were disempowered, but actually we have the power to change that ourselves. So we are extremely disempowered, but we are empowered. How crazy is that polarity?
Yeah.
We're moving literally from there to there.
Yeah.
Not easy, not easy. I've been doing this for 12 years and it's been a shit show.
Me
But
too.
it's getting better. It's getting better. But it's been so interesting talking about that, and I'm so bored of everybody pointing at somebody else and you're wrong and bad, and like, you know, you're the one who needs to look at yourself, blah 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 blah. And like, people don't realize yet that there's always a reflection, you know. And if you're kind of listening to this, watching this, and you're thinking, oh, that doesn't apply to me, I've got nothing going on in my reproductive system or whatever, like, if you haven't manifested physical symptoms, brilliant. But ask yourself this: if you're in relationships, which you probably are. You probably have a partner, or friendships, or you've got your boss or your kids or whatever it is. How much can you exist in that relationship? Are you free to express your truth in that relationship? Or do you have to shut yourself down to be in someone else's presence? Because I'm at a point now in my life where I'm drawing a line and I'm looking back at all the relationships I've ever had from my old frequency before I started healing. And they were all seriously warped in terms of me existing in my own truth. And because of my trauma, I've always shut myself down and been a people pleaser, codependent kind of thing. And I've realized that even friendships that I thought were quite deep and intense and profound actually were not, and that I wasn't existing. I wasn't existing as me. I wasn't given space to be me. I wasn't kind of allowed to express my truth. So for people who are wondering if they've been affected by this particular disempowerment, just ask yourself, are my relationships, do I feel like I'm loved for who I am or not? And if it feels like you're not, I would recommend self-healing as a preventative measure. The most powerful thing that you could do, for sure. So here we are. Have you got anything else to add, Tim?
No, I guess I just echo that really. You know, are we able to really truly be ourselves? And do, you know, in the cold light of day, do we actually know who we are? Because I think very few people do, based on all of what, you know, the intro you did actually. Very few people know who they are. And, you know, how can you be your true self when you don't know who you are? So there's a lot of work to do.
Yeah, there is. And what I've come to realize, because I was a brainwashed kind of wokey person in the middle classes like all my life, until I woke up. And I know how it feels to be in denial. I know how it feels to think I know who I am, but actually then I realize I don't. And it's very destabilizing to realize that you're not who you thought you were, but it's the journey that we're all on. It's kind of unavoidable at this point. It's very, very hard. But, if anybody's interested in learning to self-heal or having a session with me where I can teach you processes that you can learn yourself, my information will be below the video. And Tim's got lots of things that he wants to do to help the world as well. So the same goes for him. But thank you everybody for listening to us. And we hope that you've learned something. We hope we've triggered something in you that can help. See you next time, Tim.
See you next time.